Well, if you want to start early, you can.
The earlier we get started, the earlier we get done.
All right. I'd like to call the fire board meeting of February 19th to order. Chris, will you do the roll, please?
Lee Rourke. Here. Beckham. Absent was noted. Starring.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
Phelps.
Here.
Radian.
Here.
And Miller.
Here.
Okay, we have approval of the agenda, please. Are there any additions or deletions?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support. Go ahead, Kathy, did. We have motion by Phelps and support by Meridian to accept the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the January 15th minutes.
I move to approve the Fire District Board meeting minutes of January 15, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Starring and a second by Roy to accept the January 15th minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any public comment? No public comment. Moving on for request for payment, the account payable.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills of $74,676.04.
Motion by Phelps and second by Meridian to pay the bills. Is there any discussion?
Quick question. Are there any bid requirements for certain dollar levels of expenditures?
Yes.
These are all small, but I'm just curious if
Right,
you had
so,
anything over like $2,000 you require?
The board changed that from 1,000 to 5,000, I think, in 14.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
If you could just explain a little bit what's involved in the first bank card.
What page are we on?
We're on page 5 of 26 for training and repairs and traffic control.
Page 7.
Oh, well, sorry.
Page 7. Non-skid, is that paint for the deck on the boat?
For 2/19/2018.
Oh, okay.
Check number 989.
Yeah, sure, yeah, good question. So, we've got a very large project on the fireboat, which is known as 2191. That's the 40-foot Coast Guard boat. We had to strip all the paint off down to bare aluminum, and we ordered the Coast Guard kit that we put the non-skid on, and it's cut 3M paper or equivalent. So it's all cut by actually, it's a blind organization that cuts out the templates, and they provide it. So sanding supplies and things, the 2571, traffic and training and repairs traffic control sign is our project that was in the cap plan to put an arrow board on top of the tanker. So that's what that is. It's an arrow board that goes up for traffic incident management.
On the highway.
On the highway, I'm sorry, on the highway. Uniforms, trainings, and supplies, it's just a collage of expenses incurred by that. Postage typically is cost recovery postage, because we do it all certified. Insurance, I'm drawing a blank on the insurance, Peter.
That's your copay for your Medicare.
Okay.
Quarterly.
Any other questions?
And I have all the details and receipts right here,
Oh,
if somebody
no,
wants to
that's
look at them.
Oh, it's just kind of
Good
interesting.
questions. When you have that underneath a card like that, it's,
And Secure and Safe LLC card access, is that?
that was a capital improvement project that was approved by the board, and that is additional cameras and a security entry system for the back and for that door right into the truck bays.
Okay.
So it was a extension, it was like phase 2 of the system, and you also had a grant for that from MMRMA to pay a portion of that.
Perfect.
Any other questions? I have a roll call vote for the bills, please.
O'Rourke,
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
Ruffing,
Yes.
Phelps.
Yes.
Meridian.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
And bills. All right. Financial report, Steve Peter.
Okay, tax money is finally arrived. We've collected 83.5% of what was budgeted in revenues. So probably by next month, this time we'll be right up there in the high 90s of all of our revenue collected. So this is month 7, all the bills are paid. Overall, we're at 60% of our budget spent, what was appropriated back on July 1st. I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions, or...
So how is that done for the municipalities? They get their revenues in, right? The people pay their taxes.
Yep.
And then they start paying the various...
Yep, they pay us, twice a month, and see, they don't collect it until your winter tax bill.
Right.
So basically, we got 6 months to go. Our budget was approved on July 1st, so our carryover from previous years is
Right.
carrying us down until January 1st.
So that influx of revenues comes twice a year?
No, twice, no, it only comes for once a year,
Once a
starting
year.
with the winter bill. So, and then
Okay.
the people, they start, you mailed your winter bill in December, people start paying by late December, then...
So have we ever had any cash flow issues associated with that type of stream, or? are we
Well,
okay?
we kind of do. I had to reel in the chief here for major capital expenditure projects. I said, we're gonna have to put these off until
Right.
February.
Yeah, prioritize, yep.
Right, so
Okay.
that's the only, it's not cash where we're worried about making payroll or anything like that, but major capital expenditures, I said, we need to put our brakes on until
So just for
January,
future,
February.
if you have cash, you can run a cash flow report, that would be one way to watch that,
Yeah.
But if you don't have any problems with it,
No.
Those expenditures, we usually check with Peter to make
Yeah.
sure, but,
yeah.
Now
however...
we're flush, we'll be flush now until
Great.
fall.
We have a pretty good fund balance to be able to do that. Any other questions? All right, moving on. Fire chief comments? Fred?
All right, we'll get through this rapidly. What we have on one screen behind me, incident reports. So we have 36. We ended up, as of the 19th, we have 36 calls. So just a little ahead of 2017. And then we show that we are up compared to 2017. You can see their screen right here. 2017, we're up about 29%.
Had 97 calls already?
We got slammed in January.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Weather. Biggest prompter, weather.
Yep, okay,
More snow.
makes sense.
Old age.
Old age, yeah. So this is a typical breakdown of categories of calls. Typically, your biggest calls are the 300 series, which are EMS. You can see that's about 51%. Motor vehicle incidents. You can see we're already at 14, and that was as of the 18th of the month, yesterday. So that escalated. Why? Snow. They just had a fire out there yesterday on the highway. So a lot of activity on the highway and incidents by month. You can see the gray in January, 9. Way under 16, that was big time with snow and ice. 17 was kind of light. Special events, January 1. Protected property values just shows saves. This $500,000 was that house in Douglas on the Lake Shore with the propane leak. We had a chimney fire, Heron Bay Drive. Then, this is interesting. Douglas is really up there on calls. Don't know why, but significant amount of calls. I-196 you can see 3 outside of the area, which is your mutual aid, 8 calls. Grace of Douglas, you can see 3 calls. Overlapping calls, something that, for some of the new board members, any call that occurs within an hour of another call, always staffing issues for paid-on-call agencies. So that just shows in the month of February, so far we've had 8. In January, there were 18, very significant.
So you're going back 2 slides, the cost for the Grace of Douglas. The reason why we started keeping track of this was, we worked, this is for the new people, we worked with the county not to do priority 3s at the Grace of Douglas, so 2s and 3s or just 3?
Just 3s.
So that cut down tremendously. We were going out there because somebody's lab work came back screwy, or somebody had to be transported, or
Lip assist.
lip assist.
You had one there last week? 3? That called in?
Yeah, there was one there last week.
Yeah, there was, which week said that, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was
I do
now
too many
either.
calls, I remember some of that, sorry.
I was
So,
surprised it was on there.
so anyway, this was taking up a great deal of time in the fire department, so we went through all the hoops, and there were lots of them to not do priority 3s there anymore. They should be staffed for their own priority 3s. So, that's why that slide is in there.
Yeah, we like to see that low.
Yeah, trying to keep it low. Okay, so,
That's okay, no. Okay, I think that was it for the slides, right? Oh, personnel response just shows activity by member. I want to point out something, go back please. I want to point out something with Johnny Miles, okay, our clerk. John took over incident report data entry, which we always had to augment with another employee. John took it over. In 2 years, we have not had to do 1 supplement entry. He handles that in about 300 calls a year and does his job. I think that's very notable.
Sure is.
So what does that equate to? Payroll down, because we couldn't keep up. We had a 32-hour-a-week guy, but John's running calls plus doing all data entry. So we have a cross-check. It's overseen by Eric Kircher. So just want to point that out. We have not done 1 entry. He kept up with it all.
Because he'd be compensated for doing the additional work?
He gets thank you.
That boys.
No, well said, Marilyn, yes.
he's the first guy that gets new turnout gear.
Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
John's an asset, and sometimes I feel we don't pay anybody enough. Take that out of the record, will you? Response times are just under 6 minutes. Those are gonna escalate, in the wintertime. All right. Last one?
That's it.
Very good. Okay, may I move on? Want to point out community risk reduction, Chris,
County Central Fire Fire, 32 on a medical alert.
want to point out community risk reduction.
For a 34-year-old female, that's 5-611.
Sorry. We don't get back-to-back pages like that. Chris put out a CPR schedule. Chris and others teach quarterly. Actually, lately it's been Chris, because one of our CPR instructors resigned. So that's something that we come up with that was asked by the community. Next up, we had Douglas Elementary School. Yep, go on.
I didn't remember that they had a cost before. I thought they were free. Were they always $20?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. I
That's
thought it
actually
was-
our cost for the course too.
Yeah.
It's $17 for the card and $250 for the book, so we pass that on and then we eat the instructor cost. So,
Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. I tried to sign up for one last year, and I never remember seeing a cost, so that surprised me today when I read the packet. I just didn't know there was. So, yeah, no problem.
Douglas Elementary School, Chris Manos and I continue the Life Safety and Fire Prevention Program. We taught pre-K through 5th grade. We worked on addresses again, and we have a new campaign, Close the Door Before You Doze campaign. Close Before You Doze, actually, the importance of closing your doors. So we went through that. Also, I was approached by Corey Hunt, is one of our Allegan County sheriffs, and he asked us to teach a class for the Cub Scouts at the station last year. I did it at a church. So we had the Tigers Den here, group 3028, and you can just see some of the kids there. We had equal amount of parents here, and I had Jeff Dornbush, who's an Eagle Scout, Chris Bernardi, who was an Eagle Scout, and Elliot, who is a explorer, helped teach the class, and we taught addresses, stop, drop, and roll, things like that, close before you doze on the door campaign. So it really went well, and then the kids got a fire truck ride at the end.
It's a good recruiting tool.
But,
It's a good recruiting tool.
yeah,
That future volunteers.
we made them all sign up.
I love it. I love it, that's great.
So it was neat. And Corey's son is in the elementary school program, so of course he dominated all the question and answer. So it's one of the best things we have going for us is that community risk reduction at the school. Next up is something that we're tracking now because the state fire marshal has groomed this into us. We had a terrible month in Michigan. There were 18 deaths in Michigan, fire deaths. And now, to date, there's 22 fatal fires. That's horrific.
Already, yeah.
That's horrific. You might have 4 or 5, but this is huge. He points it out to us. He sends us stats every month.
Does he point out any particular reason?
They do is categorize structures, and it's residential structures is predominant, what it is. Then followed by multi-dwelling.
Well, someone wanted to ask something, and it's kind of community risk reduction. Has there been any conversation in lieu of the recent shootings down at the school where a fire alarm was pulled about before doing that, determining if there actually is a fire before?
When that happened the next morning, the Florida event, the next morning, the principal grabbed one of our captains who dropped off his child. And she said, I need to talk to Greg and coordinate an evacuation plan. So I immediately called Saugatuck Douglas Police about the elementary school, and Chief Kent was ill with the flu, and they were going to have Mark Childs contact me and Michelle. And then I called the sheriff's offices to let them know about this. And Michelle wants it done in spring. So we are going to do another drill. What we have to teach the school is it's shelter in place. We don't evacuate a school on active violent incident. So yes, the dialogue's there. There's been 4 conversations since then. Officer Giles reached out to Michelle, talked to her directly. So we got her, in my opinion, calmed down.
Was it 2 or 3 years ago you did that for the schools?
3 at elementary school, 3 years. And we're going to do another one in March. There's a lot of churches that want to have it done.
What the high school?
Same thing. Yep. And as you know, that was that was high school, that one in Florida. That's the thing with fire alarm, activating it.
Yeah.
People want to get out, and it's a real dilemma on that. And what we want to see is, if they're going to do anything, put cameras in the school so we can see the activity. We have that at the high school. That probably should not be on the record.
Mm-hmm.
But we have elementary schools, that's okay, I don't care about that. But just for this board, elementary school is something that you need cameras, so we can see a perpetrator in the hallways, or you can see smoke, the fire. As you know, that was a fire bomb that occurred, a smoke bomb that occurred in Florida. So
It's my understanding we need to clean out those halls in the elementary school.
they did a great job on the hallways.
Did they clean them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, if I may move on, live fire training facility update. We have a presentation in Fenville tonight. I did Manlius last Monday night. Manlius approved it. They don't get their money until July 1st. So we're trying to schedule Kim Busker without money down. We know where Kim lives, we think we could do that.
I know what you.
We also, as you know, there's 5 members of the Live Fire Training Center. We also were approached last Thursday by Clyde Fire representation. Clyde Fire wants to become a 6th member. Howland Fire wants to become a 7th member.
Wow.
So we've got to balance out all the dynamics of boards and councils and what do we want to do, so we're going to work on that. And again, we have to revise the interlocal agreement to accommodate Howland and Clyde if we decide to allow them to come in. So that's where we're at on that.
Yeah, you have to address liability issues, I would think, right?
Yeah, the intergovernmental agreement has defined clauses for
Okay.
indemnifying that.
Yeah, good.
We're carrying custody, so we insure it, but it's our workers' comp that covers that, or if we burn up an engine, it's covered by them, and that's in the agreement.
Okay.
So it's a good point, Chris. If there's no other questions, I'll move on. I wanted to really note and congratulate Chris Bernardi, who's now Fire Officer 1 and 2. That's no small feat, all on his own time, unpaid training. Congratulations, Chris. My understanding is you will be going to Fire Officer 3 school when that's available.
Should be all said and done end of March.
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right.
All our officers are required to be Fire Officer 1, 2, and 3. Injuries, I wanted to point out to the board, I learned this from Hank, one of the Douglas Fire Board members, great guy, Hank. We do have an injury, Brent Benhouse, one of our members, fell off a ladder, and probably is going to require surgery for his back.
Ooh.
So what that means to the board is not only the care that Brent is, he's on light duty, and trying to balance out being a firefighter with light duty responsibilities is not easy. You will see operational wages going up. I have to fill that void. One of the things that I talked to Peter about, that I'd say I'm not pleased with the way we do the budget. We have no sick time, no vacation time line item. DPW, police all have that. We point it out, but we don't have a line item for sick time or vacation time or any of that.
Probably ought to work that into the next budget.
Well, it's really, I guess vacation or sick time is not really the proper term to use. It's basically like the void, it's still a 24-hour, 7-day project here, and when
Right.
somebody's gone, we need to bring somebody
Somebody
off
else
the
in.
street. It needs to be, it's basically it's operational wages, and we just keep
Right.
pushing that up.
It is. Just as long as the
where it
board understands, whatever you want to call it, just want to make sure everyone understands, because he has a 2-pound weight limitation.
You have a hard time running a truck?
Bending and twisting is restricted, stairs are restricted.
So where did this injury occur? Was it on the job?
Yes, he was installing the base radio station in the radio room and came off the ladder about 6 feet.
So do you have any policies, procedures for fall protection and ways to address that from a safety perspective?
We do on, say, the ladder or...
You know, there's certain restrictions
Yeah.
on height and...
Right. Over 8 feet, they have fall protection, or
Good.
they're on a handled ladder.
Okay.
And then we, obviously, I'm required to notify workers' compensation, the insurance company,
Right.
accident fund,
Right.
within 24 hours, we did that. They're managing the claim. So, and I did express my...
But all your people have
concern.
training on how to...
Yes.
Okay.
The waste belts have to go on the aerial,
Electrical, also all that other stuff?
yes.
Okay.
There's policies, yes. Okay, grants, I want to let you know that we met the deadline. Chris authored the bulk of the grant for radios and headsets. I helped out here and there, and it was submitted on time, wanted you to know. It's about a $150,000 grant, so keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Competition is tough.
That would be our best one yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
May I move on?
Sure.
Unfinished business, Fire Code Board of Appeals. Very fortunate, the township unanimously have passed the Fire Board of Appeals as written, as presented.
Wow.
So we gave them 2 pages that kind of just define the changes, so we don't have a fire protection engineer. It's fire board members. It would actually be Aaron. It would be Eric Beckman and Marilyn Starring.
Aaron?
Marilyn Starring.
Me?
Aaron?
Oh, yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Those would be
Me over here.
those would be the 3 members of the Fire Board of Appeals if the other 2 jurisdictions approve it. Alternates, I suggested, would be planning commission members, but what they would use. That's what I recommended. We will provide language for the fire code adoption that Saugatuck City already spent the money on, that offered to share it, but I've got to get it passed through Douglas and Saugatuck. The reason I held off, quite frankly, is the whole police thing. Everything on the work groups and the meetings is focused around the whole police thing. So I'm hoping the beginning of the month that I can revisit that.
I just requested that be put on the next agenda.
Any questions on that? Okay, Township IFC discussion. I have not heard from Steve. One of the problems was the fire code that was presented, and I mentioned that in the last board meeting, I did not believe was the right one. So I did not want to spend all the time revising one that I wasn't sure, I knew the version wasn't right. There's so many versions, it's an easy mistake. And again, I pointed that out in the board meeting. So I don't know what the board wants me to do with this.
So the last meeting we had, we talked about just the dialogue that happened between you and Steve, that there were some things that you kind of had agreement on. We thought, well, let's get those out of the way. So that hasn't happened yet, because you were talking about 2 different versions.
Correct.
Well, why wouldn't we get the right version and try to do that again?
I pointed that out to Steve, I don't know. I don't know what the reasons were that I did not get the right version from him. And that's in your board packet, the version that I wrote down that I believe it was wrong.
So we're right where we were, okay.
We are right where we
Say
are.
like that
To
out loud.
the township stands.
Yeah, one of the examples is, this says 2012. We are not on 2012 edition, we are on 2015.
Who provided that copy? Did Steve?
Yes,
And he's aware he had the wrong version?
that was pointed out, yes, sir, it was pointed out in the board meeting as well. With board approval, I'll be happy to send, I did draft some language, I'd be happy to send that to him, only if the board directs me to.
I would sure like to get some of these low-hanging fruit items that you both agree upon right now out of the way. If we can, let's do that. Let's get it written down and agreed to. I think that would be a good first step.
Okay.
But that hasn't happened yet.
No, it has not happened. Because the problem is, some of this language gets changed, and how do I know I'm revising the right language?
That's why I want to start with the ones that are
Yeah.
easy, which are the ones that you both agree upon, and let's get that process going, that dialogue going, that relationship going, and let's see if we can't
Well, I should
parlay
probably,
that into other issues that are a little more complex.
I should probably hear from every member of the board what you want me to do on this.
I mean, if you all don't want to do that, we'll just stay where we're at right now and have a standoff. But if there's agreement on some items, why don't we try to get,
Well, why can't Steve just send in the real version and the right version, and then Chief's already written comments, and that.
So it's
back to
been day
Steve.
one. The
so you
township doesn't get it
guys
right.
haven't sat down and talked about it one-on-one, you're waiting for.
What I could do is, maybe what I can do, if start out with the board, is communicate with him via email or phone call and say, Steve, send me the correct version, and let me work off of the right baseline.
So you haven't done that yet? Okay, well, that's probably why you don't have it, right?
Well,
Or you don't have it because he doesn't want to send it to you, or I don't understand what's going on here.
either do I.
So you've not asked for it, but you expect him to give it to you.
Yeah, but he was at the meeting.
But he was at the meeting when I said I had the wrong edition.
Okay, but we didn't follow up with him to request, nobody followed up to request the right version. Has anybody done that yet? No, okay.
But they're the ones changing it.
They
They
should,
changed it.
they should send us the stuff as they change it.
Right, and that's why I pointed out, I think this is the wrong version on this.
Well, I would request the right version, number one. And then I would, before this all gets lost, I would try to at least get some of these items that I believe there's agreement on. Let's get those down. Let's get them written, let's get them agreed to. And then that will be the process for going forward into some of the more complex issues. In the meantime, I think the letter that Kathy and put together said, you know, as we come upon some of these issues that are more complex, we're going to have to document them then. But
I don't think anybody agreed to that letter. That was just read.
just a suggestion,
And
or,
that's fine.
yeah, well,
I think I thought we agreed to send back Steve the way we wanted it written, and then I think I was wrong on that. And then I see it was in the minutes, so frankly, I'm totally confused.
The reason
I
it,
don't
the
understand.
reason that didn't happen is because I was given the wrong
Right.
version.
And now I understand that.
yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
It says 2012 right here, and that's the
The wrong
problem
one.
with this.
Right.
People don't understand this and they're changing it. You barely understand it.
You know, so let's see if we can request the proper version,
Yeah.
having acknowledged it is the proper version, and then maybe there are some areas in that version that you're both in agreement to right now that you can change. Let's get those changed.
This has the cost recovery ordinance with it, which has no, it's not even in the fire code.
Shouldn't be.
Right.
No.
I agree.
That's why I said I'm not spending any more. Just for the record, Township's claims they spent $10,000 on attorneys. I don't know, that can't include staff labor. We spent $13,000, it's $23,000,
Yeah.
just for the, entered into the
For
record.
something that should have happened to begin with.
That shouldn't be.
So that's why I was reluctant to do it,
I don't like
not
it.
trying to, you know, and I've also provided
Doesn't
this.
look like the
This is the 13th month.
Right.
But all that aside, let's start over.
Let's try to get some wins here.
Yeah.
Let's, you know, we can keep, you know, running up against each other. Let's try to
But
get a
it's
couple
not all
wins.
gonna be one anyway.
What's that?
There's no agreement on certain ones, and there never will be, so I'm
What?
hesitant to do any of it. That's where I'm at
Okay.
today,
Well,
compared to last.
If that's what the board thinks,
And I
that's
hate a
fine.
standoff, but
Yeah.
it won't ever be agreed. So why just wordsmith a few wins? What's the point? It's still not acceptable to one side or the other. I don't know.
So I have
I
dumb
guess I'm
questions
frustrated.
around, does the township have the ability to change the code without approval of this board, or do they? need
Yes,
approval?
they have the right to do it,
Uh-huh.
but I think I should remind the board, that your firefighters have rights too.
Mhm.
They don't have the knowledge to do it.
But they do have the legal right.
They have the legal right to
So
do it,
Exactly right.
Change it.
and the firefighters have the legal right not to respond.
Okay. I think that's, to me, what we have to come up with is, if they change it, which they have the right to do, what is our response to that? Is it?
Our response is we're gonna provide the best service we can, even with handcuffed hands, and that has been stated. You know, what frustrates me is that this was centered around 12 builders' complaints as stated. We have 28 firefighters, emergency responders, so if this is a numbers game, which it seems to be, it's disappointing. And that's the frustration with me and the entire fire department. If this is a numbers thing, we can overshadow these 12 builders' complaints. So to me, it's more than what this is. But again, in the interest of what the board wants to try another time, I'll request the correct version and I'll work off of that.
We have to have some starting point.
Either you requested the correct versions every time, and they've never done
Well,
I just heard that it's not, no one's requested the correct version.
it. He has it, over the last 13 months, he's gone for the correct versions, and they never sent him the right ones.
So you have a memo that you can show that says, Aaron or somebody, send me the correct version.
Oh, Chris, I don't have that because I expect, since they're drafting it, I expect them to know what they have. I said it, it's recorded in the minutes when Steve sat over there. Steve, I think you sent me the wrong version.
They're all
And he said,
dated. I don't
you know,
see why. so hard to spend the latest
Steve
So-
comes to a meeting without a pencil, piece of paper, version you're working on. How, does the man just
Okay.
think he can remember all that?
I think we've talked about it enough then, okay.
I mean,
But we talked about it
I'm
enough.
at it.
I think we've talked about it enough. If it sounds like we've talked about it enough, let's just move on.
So are we okay with me requesting the correct version?
Yeah,
I would.
do it that way.
That's pretty simple.
If he can't get it to you, just
Then-
wait until the election's next
Yeah,
fall.
exactly.
I can do that.
You know, you should have.
They can't,
most-
they
most
can't get
sides
it right,
should now
they can't get it
correct
right out
version.
there, and they haven't for 13 months. And it's been a problem.
But we can't talk about it.
All right, I'll do this, I'll contact you.
I think it makes sense to ask for the correct version,
Right.
provide your point of view around which areas you agree with, don't
Right.
agree with,
Yeah.
and explain
Well,
why
if
you
they're
don't.
changing it, they gotta give me the right version.
Sure.
What if I change it, and it's not the right version?
Yeah, that's fair.
So this is just pretty elementary,
Yeah.
but I
think
wasn't
that's
given the
right.
right version, so.
Yeah, I think getting that and then stating your thoughts on what you agree with and what you don't, and why you don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, if it's their right to change it,
Right.
then we just have to say, you know, we'll do our best with what you
Right.
change, but, you know, you also have the expertise to say what you disagree with. But there will probably be a point where they pass something we don't agree with, and you have to live with that.
I don't know, but that's to be determined.
What else would we do?
Well,
Well,
you know, I
they
guess
can,
one of
they
the.
can go save lives anyway. I mean, that's what will happen. You guys, will do
At the
what you
risk
need
of-
to do,
at the
period.
risk of their own
At the
lives.
risk. But you're not gonna not do what you need to do if there's a safety issue.
And some of this developed over the years, Aaron, is that the complaints that the township had from builders, those complaints weren't forwarded to the chief. So
They were
would
never
sit down
dealt with.
and discuss what issues there were, if there was a way to work through this. So it was just determined that it isn't gonna happen, and lack of communication.
But they never forwarded the complaints to the fire department. They just changed the code instead of forwarding the complaints to us.
I mean, I agree that that is bad
Dealt
communication,
with.
but at the end of the day, it seems like it's their legal right to do that. Which, I don't agree that it's, you know, I agree that it's bad communication, but
Well, I think if you're gonna, my personal opinion is if you're going to change something that's going to affect someone who's protecting your property and your life, you need to be talking to them to see if this is gonna work, because I do that with the Coast Guard, I would do that with the police department, I would do with anybody I have to work with. If I wanna make these changes to my business, what ramifications am I going to have from you, and how is it going to affect the service that's being provided to me? And I would listen, I may not like it, and I've done things that I haven't liked, but you know what? I've done it, and it's been for the betterment of my business. And I can tell you this, we had a sticky situation 2 years ago, and we worked with the chief, and he did his ultimate best to make it a win-win for both organizations, and it was a win-win. And I don't regret the money that we spent on it. I mean, I can be tight, you don't want to spend money, but it was what the right thing to do, and it was what needed to be done. And I feel very secure knowing that with my business where it is and what I had to do, and I live upstairs above my business, it's going to protect myself and anybody who happens to be inside my business. We have an issue with what's going on down there.
it makes sense. We can't force the township to do what we think is right.
But we
It seems
can't,
like what it comes down to.
we can't try to establish a line of communication and start communicating and try to get some agreement, and it's classic negotiation, you at least start. But when you have an impasse, you try to get something that everybody can agree on, and break that ice jam, because I hear it said, we're in a lockdown, nobody wants to do anything about it. We don't even want to ask for a copy of the, let's officially ask for it. Let's get it back from them. Let's respond with, here's some areas that I agree with. Here's the areas that I don't agree with. Now we've got that documented. Because it sounds like it's not even documented now. You're just getting these
He
bad.
has documented.
For 13 months, stuff has been
The changes aren't
documented.
even that big.
So-
It's on their-
So you've sent an email requesting this version, or you haven't?
He hasn't yet on this part of it.
Okay.
But over
No, I told
the last
Steve- I
13
told
months, all this
Steve to
stuff
his-
is...
I know that, but now he's
I
got...
told Steve to his face,
Right.
right here.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
So let's send him an email, say, you know, we talked about this again tonight, we'll talk about it next meeting. Could you please send me a copy of the latest version? Immediately respond to that with, here's some areas I agree with. Here's some areas that we still need to discuss. So let's at least get that moving, or we're gonna sit here and be right where we're at next meeting, same way. We'll be in the same boat, we'll be like this till election. You wanna wait that long?
That's the way it's gonna be.
You know?
With the township, that's the way it's gonna be.
If the relationship is too tense, does there need to be a mediator?
We've been through all that.
Kathy and I sat down with them in December, and
Had a great
we
meeting
thought
on it.
we had some of these issues resolved. Evidently, we did not.
Well, it sounds like with the output of that meeting came back and it was totally different from what you discussed.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that was the
That
problem.
happens
The
every time.
write-up wasn't what we thought.
That's
It
why-
happens every time.
Every time.
So there we are.
Yeah. Not
like
And
we
that's
haven't
the version
tried.
I think we're looking for
And even
right
then,
now.
it
is
probably,
that
it probably went
version.
to a lawyer and then you don't know what it's gonna look like when it comes back.
I'll certainly do what the board wants, and I will request that version.
Let's be the good guys here. If they wanna be the bad guys, that's up to them, but let's be the good guys.
Will do.
And then, like I said, there's elections will have consequences, so. But I don't think we wanna wait that long.
No, you don't.
I think we can start to try to get,
They've tried for 13 months.
you know, well, I've just heard recently that there's some agreement, and there's some definitely no-go.
There's been agreement since day one, but then they turn around and change everything.
They don't write down what they say they're gonna do. It always comes back different than the agreement.
So now we're gonna get the latest version, we're gonna send it back as the revised version, and that will be the latest one, right?
Yep.
Okay,
So,
let's at least get to that.
Will do.
And then I will go talk to the board and say, where are we at with this response? But I can't go there and say, they haven't even, you know, they haven't even asked for it yet.
I did, I pointed that out
Last
to
month.
him, the right one to his face.
In this meeting, okay?
Yeah. Permission to move on the
Yep.
agenda?
yeah, move on.
Update on the 800 megahertz radio system and the pager system for some of the new board members. We are dispatched on this, which is an 800. There's only 10 counties in the state of Michigan that have this. And we've been having problems with the implementation, particularly out-of-range issues. Chris Mannels and another gentleman, Josh Shepherdson, are probably subject matter experts on programming these with assistance with Michigan Public Safety Communication System. These were implemented November 1st, and we've had serious issues with some fire departments not getting pages. So we are working on revised firmware software to roll out. Wednesday, we have a chiefs meeting, and I am bringing in Unication from Florida and Telred, the local dealer, to discuss approval from the Chiefs Association to put in the new firmware. There's 700 pages that have to be reprogrammed. But we spent a lot of time reprogramming these pages in a test fashion so we could get a couple of pages out to each department to try to overcome the out-of-range issues that we've encountered. So, that's where we're at on that.
Chris and Josh Shepherdson have put in a great deal of time on their own time trying to straighten this all out. They didn't just throw their hands up in the air and say this doesn't work. So they're to be commended for really sticking to it and trying to get us through. These are all brand-new pagers, brand-new systems, that the 911 board gave a whole bunch of money for.
So are most of the problems because it's so new?
The problem was that Unication, who built these, did not understand how our radio system works on the towers, on the Michigan Public Safety Communication System. They used a firmware software that worked in another area, but it did not perform here at all. The other problem was they handed us these pages with no training 3 days before we went live with an 800 radio system, which is like two different things. Huge. We advised them not to do it, and they did it. And we're still trying to get it. Chris and Josh have had to re-engineer this firmware because it didn't work. We're, I think, on the 5th revision. So the implementation was wrong. New board members, I'll just give you a brief summary. I'm governor appointed to the Michigan Public Safety Communications Board. And the pulse of the board was, they were told that the reason these don't work is because of operator error. And I straightened that out. They're either on or off. It was an operator error. It was a firmware design problem. And the director of MPSCS contacted me Friday morning, and I'll be the co-chair of the statewide implementation of this from now on as a result of what happened in Allegan. So we've got to change it, because we're missing pages. We aren't, some agencies are. We used to be on VHF.
Some of the agencies in the county?
Yeah, there was like eight fire departments that were missing pages.
Wow.
This goes way back, I think I had just joined the board, right, where it's a statewide program to improve the whole 911, where now the police are involved, fire, and
Yes.
all the people. I was just trying to give Aaron some history
Right.
here. So, yeah. it
But
was-
only fire's dispatched on these, police aren't.
Oh.
They're on radios.
But you can still communicate with each other with the new program,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
And that's
Okay.
one of the essential components of cooperation and intergovernmental agreements within agencies.
We moved from a Harris system to the NPS system through the county. So it's all a brand new system that seems to be working
The radio system's phenomenal,
phenomenally well.
just phenomenal. The clarity of the digital, crispness of it, better audio, better communication. This has been a disappointment where we're trying to work through. Good? Okay.
New business, FEMA grant.
So, Chris has resubmitted a fire safety grant for an obstacle course, inflatable obstacle course, requesting board approval, 5% match, not to exceed $1,000.
So we need a motion for this.
I'll make the motion to apply for
What's
the
the
grant.
obstacle course?
For the,
So,
Good.
a big bounce house like that we would have.
For the annual program?
Right, so there's all sorts of, how to escape, slide down, there's windows, it's, we have a profile on it, but it's a inflatable designed specifically for fire prevention classes and kind of techniques.
So that we can use this in a lot of different places.
Not just once a year at
No.
our picnic?
Right.
Right, we-
We can use
yeah.
this in the school.
All right.
Do we match 5% or do they match 5%?
No, we match.
We match 5%. Right.
A lot better.
Yeah, we match 5%. And our share is up to 1,000. Because sometimes they'll only approve so much of it, they won't approve the whole thing.
so I'll put on with my motion to get the FEMA grant for the fire safety inflatable obstacle course.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Meridian to approve the 5% match for an obstacle course grant,
Not to exceed $1,000.
not to exceed $1,000. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please say yes. Oh, there's a roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Phelps,
Yes.
Meridian,
Yes?
Rory,
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
Flake,
Yes.
Tim Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have a FEMA regional grant, stovetop top, fire stop, food suppression canisters. These are really cool.
So what this is about, board, I'll show you quickly. These go up underneath a range hood above your stove. They're magnetic. They're heat sensitive, they dump suppressant on top of the stove top. 98% of our fires are in the kitchen, stoves, that's what these do. This version is for a microwave. It's a little different version, like, for example, our setup right here. So what happened was the Fire Chiefs Association wanted to write a grant on a regional basis with about 20 fire departments. And we, subject to grant approval, would get a grant award to purchase, say, 100 of these. Our share is not to exceed $2,500 of the grant on the match. And I believe that's the thing, those devices are so critical that I can see the board someday saying, like smoke alarms, we need to buy them, whether you're funded or not. So, we're gonna go for a grant.
I remember you showed that at the picnic this year, and that
Yeah.
was pretty cool to see at the summer, you
Yeah.
know. But where would you, if you only get 100, how would you decide who gets them? I mean,
Well,
it's a good start, but how would you
right,
even?
probably what I would do, Chris, go ahead.
Essentially, the regional grant's gonna apply for, we're asking for $500,000 and 12,500 of them. And then they'll be distributed based on population and per capita of each of the 22 fire departments that are part of it. So we would get a lot more than 100, and even with the smoke alarm program, we're actually having difficulty getting people to allow us to put them in people's homes. So I think we shouldn't have any trouble being able to disperse what our allotted quantity would be within the district, so.
But to answer you directly, Kathy, my target audience would be the elderly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was gonna leave the grease
say the
going.
trailer
and-
parks
Yep.
again?
Right,
or
that would be
what?
the, we have these devices right at Old Mill Heights right over here,
Okay.
and, Ridgewood Oaks,
Yep.
right over here. That's where I first saw
Are you
them.
gonna bring one?
What?
Oh, you're gonna bring one for me?
Oh, yeah.
You might need
It's
a
the
valve.
elderly.
So the suppressant, is it gas, is it gas powder?
No, you know what it looks like, the yellow powder
Okay.
and an ABC extinguisher?
Great, super, I think that's a great idea, especially for the elderly.
Phenomenal, we
So
hope
how
to.
would I clean that up?
Now,
Call us. Yeah, we got call out to find somebody's eyeglasses
It'd
last
be a lot
week.
easier than what's left over after the grease fire, right?
Can I still eat what I was cooking
No.
for dinner?
No,
That
I
includes-
think your dinner's gonna be done, but I like that, it's a great idea.
It is, I'm so worked up about this, I
Great
really,
public service.
really think it'd be great.
All right, so we need a,
So we need a roll call vote, please,
We need
not to.
we need a motion.
We need a motion, I'll make a motion. I'll do the motion stuff tonight, the FEMA grant, apply for it, for the stovetop firewood suppression canisters, not to exceed $2,500.
I'll support. We got a motion by Phelps and a support by Maryland to support the regional grant for stovetop fire stop
Not
wood
easy to say.
suppression canisters, not to exceed $2,500.
Shouldn't there be stuffing stuff in there somewhere?
Yeah. Okay, can we have roll call vote, please?
Sure, Phelps,
Yes.
Staring,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Meridian.
Yes.
And Verplank.
Yes.
Rory, sorry. I realized I was typing too fast.
Okay. Okay, fire board administrative rules and bylaw amendments.
So you have before you a final copy and a red line version which shows the changes. Really what kind of prompted this was, it was incorrectly referring to when the fire board meetings were taking place. We took the opportunity to make sure that we changed it to something chairperson that was more appropriate than chairman, since we have a number of women on the board. So, requesting your consideration and approval.
So those are the only-
all looked insignificant changes to me.
Yeah, it's
Those
just
are the only
housekeeping.
changes.
Nothing
Yes, sir.
big at all.
It's just housekeeping,
Yeah.
actually, when the board meeting actually is, and,
I would move to accept the proposed amended red line copy of the rules and bylaws of the Saugus Township Fire District.
I'll support. A motion by Rorig and support by Staring to approve the bylaw amendments, red line version. We have a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Rory,
Yes.
Staring,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps.
Yes.
Meridian.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Jane, just a point of order, I believe that has to go to each municipality then for
Oh, yes, it
approval
does.
afterwards now.
Yes.
Um,
I'm sorry, I should have
Yeah.
mentioned that. Yes, now this has to be approved by each municipality, so, you're gonna have to take this back to your various
people and get it
So
approved.
are you gonna email it, or take it out of the
You-
packet and
you
give
can
it
take
to
it out of the
Keith, or
packet,
what
so
do I
we
do?
can regular
We
version.
can email it,
Yeah.
however you want it.
Yeah.
I
We'll
can send
email it to you.
the final document or whatever you like.
Yeah.
We'll send you both versions.
And then
Yeah.
we'll ask it to be on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I would put a little blurb saying there's only a couple of minor changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, where are we? Project review.
I've got to find out, I got a call from, the DEQ about a project, and, they were asking me about road widths and things, and I really don't know, he has not responded to us, we sent a request back, and it's North Shores. We don't, he got some driveways to review, and the 16 feet versus 20 feet thing came into play, and we don't really know. We asked him for a site plan because we don't have anything that's current. Site plan that we saw on the website doesn't have the lots on there. So I don't know what, you know, I was actually gonna talk to Eric and Chris about this. I don't know at what point we are, if the DEQ is initially approving these, but he asked me to comment, and we didn't have anything. So he sent us the driveway reviews, or the driveway plans, and I asked, via Chris for the site plan, and we never heard anything. So we don't know what's happening there. So, and there's a, I think, they said there's a Thursday deadline on this, but we don't understand it, and we didn't know if Eric or you knew anything about the North Shores development as far as driveways?
No.
Okay.
So who made the request for this information?
And MDEQ, John, from
Of you.
MDEQ?
And then you need more information from who? From the township?
Right.
And you requested that?
What?
You requested that from the township?
No, we
Oh.
requested, because the township never asked us to review anything, we requested it from John.
John,
From
Via.
DEQ.
He's MDEQ, because he's the one who asked us to look at it. He's the one who sent it to us, not the township.
so what have you done in the past when the MDEQ asked you to review something?
Don't remember that ever happening.
Interesting. Okay.
We had it with, dune grass,
Yeah.
and we had it on the road with, but we all did it together.
What do you think he wants to know, what you think about it?
What?
What do you suspect he wants to know? Does he want to open meets with your approval, or the code, or what do you think he wants to know? I'm
I
just
think
curious.
what he wants is, he said, you know, this was written as 20 feet, you know, and I said, well, we've done single-family dwelling 16 feet.
Right.
But I said, North Shores is a different breed because we don't have a pressurized water supply.
Right.
And I said, I don't know where the water supply is going to be positioned. So we didn't, I said, do you have it in writing? We didn't get a response, and then we went online, but we don't even know if that's a current version
Right.
because it doesn't show lots. So we were hoping to have a response today from him, but we didn't.
From the MDEQ?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So,
When you said they have a deadline, can they move forward without hearing from you, or like?
I don't see how. We have to approve the driveways, because it's more than 5. So, well, just want to let you know, we don't know what happened with not getting the driveways, or if this is a step in the process. We're not sure. So, we got to find out what's going on.
So it sounds like.
Why they went to the MDEQ and not to us.
Sounds like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
I don't know. We got to figure it out.
Okay, moving on to the appreciation dinner.
We have a tentative date for the appreciation dinner, March 31st. Eric sent a text and he said that's the beginning of spring break, and he won't be around, so I don't know if that's a problem.
This was like the only date we could get, isn't it?
It wasn't March, we had some open in April.
Where are you gonna do it this year?
It was gonna be
At
at
Camp
church.
David.
St. Pete again?
Same, yep.
Yeah.
Yes, that was such a good venue.
Yeah, it is, it's a good spot.
There's actually enough room.
Mhm.
So our point is, we just want to mention the tentative date of March 31st, okay?
Or does somebody think we should move it?
I'm looking, because I think they even canceled my hockey games that week because of spring break. That is spring break?
Yeah, that's what Eric said, so maybe we
Yeah.
should move that.
I know that we don't even have hockey games that week.
Then you'll be free for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I'm on spring break.
Shall I see what else is available?
Probably wouldn't hurt. Now, how many people are gonna be going somewhere for spring break?
Historic, that's why,
You know, from the apartment or?
let me take a look at this.
It's also the night before Easter, so I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
goes out of town for Easter.
Yeah, that is the Easter Eve, now that you mention it. Easter's April 1st, I'm gonna have family and everybody.
Yeah, they canceled all the hockey games that week.
That's not a good day.
Well, that's a big indicator of life.
Well, let's see about changing that.
If there's no hockey games.
There's just so many guys that go, out, you know, with their kids or
I
out.
know.
they go
Oh,
out,
yeah,
so
yeah,
they
sure, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Can't get enough people on the ice.
We will check out, we'll reach out. with
I just hate to have you have this and have it poorly attended because
Yeah.
everybody's going.
Okay, then we have correspondence. Thank you from Mary Whiteford for talking about Dunes Fire.
Yeah, the letters are actually over in been over there, and we got another letter from Mary Whitford, who's always very vocal and very supportive of the fire service. But, again, commenting about the Dunes fires, apparently this had quite an impact on her. And then she sent also about, she liked our campaign of clearing out the hydrants and our request put in the paper. So, a couple of letters from Mary, just want to share it with you.
What is the Dunes fire she's referring to?
There was a woods fire out there, they think from a flare, and it was, initially thought about it was pretty large. It didn't turn out to be so large, and she had just been out there. Very hard terrain to get to, no water supply, so.
It was right after Christmas.
This was dated January 10th,
But the fire was right after Christmas.
so. Just wanted to relay that to the board.
Okay, any public comments? Public, got anything to say? Fire board comments? Aaron? Kathy? Scott?
Question with the fireboat dock, where are you with that?
Yes, the fireboat dock, briefly, fireboat dock, we have a floating dock budget, about $40,000 for that, not to exceed, and, it came back from Lake Construction, and we wanted aluminum for the surface, so we had no maintenance on it, and it came back epoxy-coated steel, and we're not crazy about that. And we let Al know, and we reached out to another contractor. So we're waiting for, we sent out RFPs. Also, Al is very reluctant to, well, he won't be responsible for driving the pilings because the water maintenance there comes down from Mount Baldwin. And the permits, you know, he wanted us to get, and I don't think that's our responsibility. So we're trying to work that out with Al.
Yeah, I have nothing, Marilyn? Nothing, Chris? Okay, we are adjourned.
All right, 5:02, huh? Is that good enough?
Good job.
That was good.
Thank you.
Get out and see if people are still working at the restaurant, or
So,
they're gone for the day.
did people have trouble getting their packets this time? Chris, did you get a packet?
I have problems with my email apparently that I gotta look into.
Aaron had trouble too.
I think yours...
And the last time it didn't go through either.
No.
I think yours was with the township. We had a terrible time trying to get...
It may be the size of the attachment, they may have a restriction on the amount of megabytes that are